Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Haven Cottage Investments. Alright, stick around to the end of the episode if you want to hear more about how awesome they are and what they can do for you. And without further ado, here's the episode.
One more podcast.
Just letting everybody know right now that the views and expressions and whatever else the disclaimers are for whatever we talk about something serious, we're all here having an open conversation. They are our views and our opinions, and they are so opinionated and so viewed that we had a third person had to dip out because he didn't want the kind of flack that me and my friend here, Blake, are willing to receive. But no, more seriously, again, I really want to clarify that this is just a open conversation. This is we're talking about the subject that, definitely can get a lot of people heated. But the point here is that if you don't agree with what I'm saying or what Blake says or anything like that, if you don't agree, if you don't like the way that we said it, whatever it is, if there's something that just irked you the wrong or the right way, whatever it is, tell us. This respond to the comments. If you have my phone number, text me. If you have the email, one more podcast@gmail.com, send an email. The point now is to talk about this. I know kind of the overarching theme of the last few episodes is having this open discussion and open conversation about, we need to, make sure that, everyone is not, we're not just saying bigoted things just to say bigoted things. We're actually here to discuss something. So, we are going to discuss and talk about, drumroll please, thank you, white privilege. There are a few videos that I have been referenced to, and literally it's the only comment on one of my videos. This guy that just posted 4 links to different things, not necessarily debunking it, but definitely having a lot of points to debate it. And so I figured, hey, what's the best way to, have a conversation? Well, let's have a conversation. And then those of you who do not agree with me, comment it. I will respond. If you want to try and get on and talk for like however many minutes and have your viewpoint, and then we can talk to you and we can discuss it and we can figure out a way. Like, honestly, this is the time. This is now. My 62 subscribers. Let's charge into this and really make this, really make this something special. I wouldn't say special. I want this to be special. I take that back. I want this special. So, without further ado, Blake, before watching the videos, what were your views on white privilege and stuff like that? And you can be as blunt as you want. You can say whatever. Don't feel withheld.
You know me.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, you're very timid. You're very calm around. You're a snowflake.
I had watched these videos before.
Oh, you had?
Yeah, I'm a huge Ben Shapiro fan.
Well then, gosh, this was a waste of time.
No, not at all. There was a point where I was talking to one of my buddies who goes to Georgetown, plays football there, and we were having one of those open discussions like we usually have. Mm-hmm. But he's a black dude.
Okay.
And I started asking him a lot of questions about, do you think the United States is inherently racist? How do you feel about white privilege? Just because I wanted to see a different side of it. Because all I do is listen to Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder or, Dennis Prager or, whoever. And the only time I really see a differing view is when I watch them debate somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not hiding my I'm not hiding my bias at all.
Okay.
But after talking with him, I was kind of, I understood what he was saying but a lot of things didn't line up with me.
Okay. So, like, what were some of the points?
Some of the examples that he gave was, the reason that black people in the United States haven't been as successful is because of white privilege and how white people in different hiring processes and mm-hmm. pay and whatnot, mm-hmm. They just weren't up to par with white people in the United States for black people.
Right.
And I couldn't find a way to refute that until I went back to school
mm-hmm.
the next couple of days, and I started talking to some of my professors and some of my classmates. He brought up the legal system, which for a while I was completely convinced that the legal system was inherently biased against black people. But I read 2 or 3 chapters in my criminal law textbook and another conversation with my professors. I had a sociologist professor who was a black guy, Mr. Williams, who was one of the few people that I talked to that didn't agree with white privilege. That didn't think the legal system was against black people at all.
Okay.
And what the overarching theme of all of this was culture.
Okay.
So what I found was there are cultures within every single race, and I don't even look at the United States anymore as race. I look at it as income bracket.
Okay.
Now, because of this, and each culture has an income bracket. It's true. So the poor white people usually fit in, besides, white trash and the deep elm of the South or whatever. But most of the time, poor white people, poor Mexicans, poor blacks, poor Asians, they all fit into the same characteristics.
Okay.
They don't finish high school. They don't keep a job. They get pregnant before they get married. They don't stay with their children. They don't have drive.
Real quick, I just want to stop you there. The points that Blake just brought up, those are in the couple of videos that we watched, those were definitely a recurring topic.
Yeah, it's from the Brookings Institute.
Right. And so, what was it? How Not to Be Poor?
Brookings, that was one of them.
Okay,
in Ben
sure.
Shapiro's video, it was the Brookings Institute has 3 ways to not be permanently poor in the United States.
Right.
And it's to keep a job and hold it, graduate high school, don't get pregnant before you get married.
Right.
If you do those things, statistically, you are overwhelmingly more likely to not be, in the lower class.
Sure.
That's just statistically a fact.
Sure. I didn't want to interrupt your train of thought there. I just thought that was really, really important because, and again, I feel like this is why, and I'm even saying I feel, it's just how we get muddied up in the kind of this being this PC culture where, you can't say that, so and so is this because then people are going to say, well, that hurt me, or that I'm offended by that, or I feel that that is racist, or that statement in itself is racist. And it's very difficult. And again, I understand why this is kind of a divisive issue, is because, we've kind of had a similar conversation, not on this topic specifically, but like, what is more impactful, the truth or having charisma, and having kind of that conversation where just because it's not the whole truth, well, because you feel that it's the truth, or just because you feel like that's the right thing to do, bring it in ethically speaking, if it sits right with you, then that's okay. But everything that people say that may not lead to, these quote unquote racist statements, they might not be racist, but because you feel that it is, and that's, again, your own personal view, then that's what it is. And so, again, I didn't want to.
No, you're fine.
And I think it is really important because, and not even just graduate high school, but moving on to getting a college, just a bachelor's degree. And in one of the videos that we watched, his main focus was the average income household. And so you had families, Ghani, was it the Ghani, or
from
I'm blanking on the country, which is probably poor on my part. I do apologize, but
son of a bitch. Hold on.
It was a African American country.
No, African.
Oh well, right. Sorry, African country moving to America. So their average income household was, I think, like 60-something thousand a year.
Yeah, 61,000 for Ghana, and 65 for what?
Isn't Ghana, or is that like people from Ghana are Ghani? I don't know. I don't know. And I do have to apologize. I've
was it
ignorant on my part?
It wasn't the Congo. It wasn't Zimbabwe.
No. We're again Nigerians. Okay. So and so a percentage of people from Ghana, I believe, it was like 17% of them had master's degrees
from Nigeria.
I apologize. Okay, so thank you, Blake, for fact checking me, and I'm not just spewing fake news. Anyways, looking at that though, obviously having, if you finish high school, you're going to have an average salary no matter what. I mean, unless you're like the lucky 1% that like make it big or have an in with someone or whatever it is. I definitely think not having a bachelor's degree is a huge issue. And what the dropout rate for African Americans was like somewhere about 34% or something like that.
Once they get into college, yeah.
Yeah, once they get into college, the dropout right there. And then for white Americans, it was like 14 and
17%.
I think it was like 17, and then I think Asian Americans were like 13%, something like that. So it's definitely very important that we recognize that, you know, these aren't, you know, it's not just, oh, all African Americans are, you know, this, you know, you can't leave these blanket statements, but looking specifically at, okay, if you look, and again, I don't have the specific facts, but I think this is a safe way to extend. If we have the percentages that Ben Shapiro was saying, or this other guy was saying, I think we can extend that to whichever subject that we're talking about. But I've kind of lost my train of thought there. I'm gonna back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Blake, did you want to say?
Well, I'll jump in. I don't agree with you on the college degree thing.
Oh, you don't?
Mm.
Okay. Well, so go ahead.
So both of my parents didn't have college degrees.
Mm-hmm.
They did very well for themselves.
But how hard did they work to get to where they're at?
I mean, everybody works hard.
Well, I've talked to your dad, obviously, and haven't so much your mom, but you've told me your story about how your dad got to where he is, and I think that the amount of effort and the amount of hard work that he put into it is a lot higher than a lot of what average Americans are willing to put into. And so I think you either have to have a huge amount of passion and a huge amount of drive, because, and I mean, we literally had this conversation earlier today. I was off work today, and, you know, you thought that was a little weird, and I was like, okay, well, you know, I don't love my job. I don't have this super passion for it. But the reason why your parents are working today is because they love their jobs. They love what they do. They love what happens from it. And that's awesome. And that's great. And if I had that same passion and that same drive, like, oh man, I can't wait to get into work today, I probably wouldn't have taken off. I would have enjoyed, you know, having a couple days and then having New Year's or whatever. And that's fine. But, so go.
Let me turn it then. So,
Okay.
Trade schools. I love listening to Mike Rowe,
Mm-hmm.
the guy from Dirty Jobs.
Mm-hmm.
He had a 3-hour-long congressional hearing where he was talking about the culture of work in today's society, the United States. Trade schools are down. Trade school enrollments are down every single year.
Mm-hmm.
But those jobs are paying some of the highest income for. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I don't want to get too derailed off of that, because I do agree. Trade schools are very, very important. I don't think, however, you can, because what with, and correct me if I'm wrong. So trade schools, do you finish high school then go to a trade school, or can you just skip out high school and do trade school?
I have a buddy that didn't graduate high school, but he went to a trade school.
Okay,
AC work.
but that's still, I think we still can classify that as higher education. I
Okay,
think
so
if we
trade,
scrub
trade school, technical school.
I do classify that as a
education.
higher education. I think that's very important. And okay, so then I'll take
Okay,
back what
well
I said
then
about
how
having bachelors.
Okay, so how much college hours does it take to have a higher education in your mind?
That is not, I cannot answer that question. That is solely determined on what you plan on doing.
Okay, so I got my associate's degree in criminal law, but now I'm an apprentice for a trade.
Right.
Is that?
That's fine.
That's fine.
What are you telling me? Are you trying to tell me to? I think so. I think because again, and I think a big emphasis that a lot of people have are college. It's not about what you learn, because the shit that I learned in college 4 years from now will be out of date. I think, what was it, like, there's some fact, or not a fact, but like a quote unquote statistic that said, you know, the stuff that you learn your freshman year of college, just at a traditional university, like especially in the IT field, the stuff you learn your first year, once you graduate, that's obsolete. Mm-hmm. The idea of going into a quote unquote higher education, learning how to learn. I think that's very important. Okay. I don't think a lot of people take full advantage of that, and that's why you might have the college dropouts, or you might have those who can't get a job after college.
Okay.
But getting way too off track, I think.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the conversation, but I way off track. So, what I was gonna say, I think an overarching theme, going back to the white privilege, an overarching theme is, and this is why it gets so muddied with the I feels, is because people not taking personal responsibility.
Yes.
I think that is a huge problem that we have today, where, you know, everyone wants to shift the blame to someone else. Everyone wants to blame something else, or just totally ignore that fact. Okay. And I can't personally say, you know, I know this person are prime examples of, not taking personal responsibility because, we live in a different society and we didn't live, or not a society, but we live in a different bubble. But I think that is so important.
I can comment on that then.
Oh, go ahead, comment it.
Half of my family is the whitest trash that you'll ever meet.
Mm-hmm.
And this Christmas, everyone showed up with their new kids and their baby daddies and their baby mamas.
Really?
And yeah.
Okay.
And and some of them are out of work. Some of them were talking about getting their holiday welfare checks, and some of them were talking about why their mom wasn't there. And it's because we don't know where she's been for the past 2 months because she started doing this drug or that drug, and that's my side of the family. That's one of my halves of the family.
Yeah,
and the other half ain't too pretty either. So yeah, I'm commenting on that. Yeah, they don't take responsibility. They grew up in a system where everybody's is going to be taken care of I think all of this started when Lyndon, and this is kind of off track, but I think all of this started when Lyndon B. Johnson started the Great Society.
Okay. Enlighten me on what the Great Society is. The
idea of the Great Society was the government was going to take care of people to make sure that everyone had equal footing within the United States.
Okay, so affirmative action.
You had mothers that would get certain amount of income from the government based on how many kids they had.
You do get a tax break.
If the father you don't just get a tax break.
Well, no, I'm just that's a thing. I know that's a thing. Like the more kids you have,
depending on when the father is, if the father is there, if they're married, and so that is, I think, is when it started the ball rolling. Because if you look at statistics from the 1950s, white people had a higher level of wedlock than black people in some states.
Get out of wedlock marriage.
Yeah, out of wedlock marriage, out of wedlock
kids. Yeah, sorry.
Black people in a lot of states had a lower percentage of that than white people, especially in the South.
Yeah.
What changed?
I guess
I'm going to blame it on the Great Society. We had a government that was willing to take care of people, and responsibility went out the fucking window.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, even Ben Shapiro, he stated the what was it? The single black mothers in like the 60s.
73% right now.
Well, yeah, it was 20% in the 60s, and it's like up to 73% now. Which again, and it's like, and it's so weird to say, but like again, no white people are pointing a gun to African Americans saying, "Hey, you need to have babies, and then you need to be a single mom." Like, no, that's not happening. So, and that's what frustrates me is we're shouting to the rooftops, "Hey, white privilege is a thing. How dare you, blah, 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 blah." A long laundry list of why we're the a-holes. But, are we looking into we're looking into the homes of these single mother families, or, these kids, violence and all the numbers and stuff like that. And again, I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of the percentages because, I'm not going to make those statements because I don't know. I don't know. I haven't looked it up specifically. I don't have the most recent census and stuff like that. But I'm going to go on faith based on what Ben Shapiro said. And again, at a later date, I'll look this up on my own. I'm going to go on faith that it's relatively true what he's saying. So with that, wanted to go. So we talked about a little bit kind of on the socioeconomic scale. But real quick, I wanted your opinions on capitalism as a whole. I thought it was you can have your gripes with it. You can have whatever issues you have with it. But I think what, Ben Shapiro said about capitalism being colorblind and only caring about green, I think that's totally true. Yeah. I think we've even seen these examples, like when
every sport athlete in the United States, like especially in football and basketball, like a huge percentage of them are black people. That doesn't matter.
I don't want. So let back up real quick.
Go ahead.
So I think we need to rephrase that statement, because I think making that jump to, because I was going in a slight different direction, but and that's totally fine that you said that, but it's the non-discriminatory practices that each industry has. So,
well, my point is, so the NFL only cares about how skilled you are.
Right. Exactly.
It's a perfect equation for perfect comparison for capitalism.
Sure. Exactly. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Sorry. I appreciate you clarifying that for me. So yeah, I agree. It's definitely and I mean you could probably even set the bar for, and we'll bring it to my sphere is IT and stuff like that. And you're gonna have literally when I was trying to move into like kind of this developer position at my job, the manager, he was just like, look, do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do this? Blah, 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 blah. This whole laundry list. Okay, well, this was over the phone. He didn't know who I was. He didn't know if I was white, black, Asian, or whatever. It's the fact that you have this set list of things that you are qualified for. And to bounce off of that, I know, and I forget where I have to look it up again, but, there a overarching issue that we use overarching a lot. I don't know. I kind of like that. You okay? You a little hot there? Oh, well, okay. So you go for it.
All right,
go
cool.
go pee. I will rant a little bit. So I'll speak loud for you, Blake. The overarching issue that we have with a lot of the unemployment right now in America is one, the students. I was going to say people who are receiving money from unemployment whenever they because you need to show proof of searching for a job. You need to show proof that, hey, I'm on the look, I'm going to blah, 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 blah. What they do is they apply for jobs that they are not qualified for, that they are way underqualified for, knowing that they're going to get this, they're knowing they're going to get rejected. So applying for overqualified just to get the monthly check coming in. And unfortunately, this is just a system of a free market. Is the longer that you are on unemployment, the harder it is to get off of unemployment. That's not race related. That's not anything related other than just the system itself. Because just think about this comparatively. You're Joe Blow, okay, whatever. You're Joe Blow. You get fired and you go on unemployment. Okay, so you go on unemployment. You're on there for a month. All right, so what's going to happen after a month? You're going to keep looking for jobs. Okay, you're going to go to apply to a job, and the job says, well, why were you out of a job for a month? And then you're going to give some whatever reason, I was fired, whatever, couldn't find another job. Well, that company's not as excited to hire you as someone who is either fresh out of college, already has a job, wants to swap over to this job. They're going to say, well, maybe we'll go on to the next person, try again somewhere else. Okay, well, then another month goes by. Well, why were you on unemployment for 2 months? And it's this vicious cycle that the longer that you stay on unemployment, the harder it is to get back into that job market because there are overly qualified people for vying for the same position. Sure. I can't necessarily say that for the fast food and the blah, blah, blah and whatever, because that is definitely the low hanging fruit, I like to say. And that's also to bounce off of that, we're gonna stray. I know we said this whole thing's gonna be about white privilege, but this is just, I think, problems in our society right now. A lot of people, the $15 an hour minimum wage and stuff like that, for the low hanging fruit jobs, I think that's a little ridiculous because one robots are going to be and I don't want to get too muddy into this because we talked about this before.
We see that at McDonald's all the time. So when McDonald's, some of the labor force was striking for the $15 minimum wage, they started innovating.
Yeah,
like one person, like they just press a button and all of the Cokes are filled. It's become so technologically innovative that those people are getting pushed out of the job.
And that's the problem because and I don't mean this in a super I'm trying to like say all these things all at once. So, okay, before I get into this, don't let me forget about to continue talking about this because I've been
technology.
The job market. Yeah, just remember if I forget to bring it back up. But the issue that I have a lot with these conversations that we have and the not that we have specifically me and you or you and I forget how you say it. But I've learned throughout life is that when you think that you're right and you feel that you're right and you tell that to another person, it's very difficult for them to have an open mindset when you're saying what you believe is wrong. And I think that's also another contributing factor that we can't have this conversation with white privilege or any problems that are plaguing America is because Joe Blow says, hey, I think you're wrong, Blow Joe. That Blow Joe is going to get super offended. He's going to get hurt. He's going to close off to what you have to say. He's going to close his ears off to it because if you're being aggressive, and again, I think that's an issue that even Ben Shapiro has. The whole idea of I don't give a crap about your feelings. I think your feelings are worthless. Blah blah blah. I only care about my wife and kids. Sure. That's fine. I'm not saying he should care about everyone. That is very valid. I think growing up, I'm probably going to be the same way. Maybe I'll extend that to my close friends, not just everybody, not family. But having that mindset, having that aggressive mindset does not help, talking to, thousands and thousands of people imbued with this idea that the world is against them. If you're trying to help them understand that, hey, look, it's just the predicament that you've put yourself in, even then they're going to feel like you're attacking them, saying, hey, look, Blake, the reason why you have 3 kids and you can't find a job and you're a single mother household, is just because you didn't take personal responsibility. And even that statement alone can close people off. Yeah, exactly. And
no one likes to feel like that they fucked up.
Exactly. No one wants to feel that way. They don't want to be wrong, and they don't. I guess realistically, and especially for me, I can totally vibe with the statement. Is I just don't want to feel stupid. I don't want to feel like I've led my life thinking, the past 22 years of my life I thought this one way, and then here comes Blake with this huge knowledge bomb that he's about to throw on me. I don't want that. I was comfortable. I was comfortable with the way that I was living. I don't want change. I don't want to change the idea of how I look, because Blake, if you're coming with a bomb instead of like a cookie, if you give me a knowledge cookie, we can have a different conversation that way. You can say, look, you're not stupid for believing this way. You're not at fault. Sure, you could have done a little more research, and sure, you could have been more expand your knowledge base there. But you're not at fault here. You're not going to be sentenced to jail. And I think that's definitely a huge issue that we have nowadays, is because immediately, and I mean, I've seen it at UNT. You just have, like, there's this one guy, and I've brought him up multiple times, but I think he's very valid even to this day. You have this one preacher guy that just goes on and on about, like, oh, everyone's going to hell, and blah blah blah, and you are sinners, and blah 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 blah. Quoting from the Bible, blah blah blah, and everyone attacks him. I've never seen him have an open conversation without the kids or the college students like having this aggressive tone, and I don't think that's right. Total tangent aside, well, Blake, you have a face. What's up?
Yeah, I feel like I remember Ben Shapiro.
I don't care what you feel like. I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Fine. I think
there you go.
After listening to Ben Shapiro and Adam Carolla, you know who Adam Carolla is?
I do not. Does he drive a Corolla?
No.
Okay. That's a wasted
he's
joke.
A car enthusiast, but he has the most popular podcast in the country.
Oh, wow.
Adam Carolla, the Adam Carolla Show.
Okay.
Never heard of him?
No, never heard of it.
Have you ever heard of Dennis Prager?
No. These
Okay.
are names going over my head.
Okay.
Anyways, continue.
Regardless, he has the most popular syndicated podcast in the country. And he and Ben Shapiro were testifying in front of Congress.
Okay.
Because both of them were silenced on campuses. They
really?
Were, right. The campus students would either riot, or the campus officials would say, no, you're not speaking here.
Wow.
And he put it, he's a comedian, so he put it in funny terms. I'm not going to be Adam Carolla, but he said, kids are like astronauts, so studies have shown that when astronauts are up in space in this free floating environment, they lose muscle mass, they lose bone density. Mm-hmm. That's what we've done to kids the past 20, 30 years. We've put them in an environment where they're losing muscle mass. They don't have the grits, the want to learn knowledge. They go to imright.com, find facts that back up their opinion, and spew it out as if it's true. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening. You need to expose your kids to germs and diseases and dirt when they're kids, so that when they grow up, they're immune to those diseases. Right. But we're not doing that with kids anymore.
Sure.
So everyone believes that they're right because they've never experienced anything else.
So then real quick, before we go back to the job thingy that I was trying to
$15 an hour.
15, yeah. So do you think then the idea of white privilege as a whole has been brought up through this millennial generation?
No, white privilege is not a new concept. So if you listen to even civil rights leaders,
sure.
Malcolm X, or you go far back to Dr. King, white privilege is it's spoken about. Like it's not a new concept.
Okay.
However, it has shown its ugly face again.
Okay.
In a bad ways, and I look at it from professors who, and Ben Shapiro kind of touched on this. Professors nowadays were the liberal activists of the 60s and the 70s, where they were actually fighting for stuff. Like, there was discrimination going on in the 60s and 70s in the United States. No one is going to deny that.
Exactly.
They were actually fighting for stuff. Now, there's I'm sorry, there's not a lot to fight for now. But the professors are not going to tell these students that wholeheartedly believe that they're fighting to change the face of America that they're wrong. They're going to back them up. And that's why Ben Shapiro gets blocked on campuses. That's why Adam Carolla and Dennis Prager get blocked off campuses, because these professors are like, we don't want these toxic ideas coming to these students. And
For
so
sure.
white privilege is it's not a new concept, but it is revamped in the worst way possible nowadays on campuses, specifically campuses.
I agree. I kind of had a shift in thought. I don't really want to drag this out for a whole entire hour because I think what we've said is pretty condensed. I just want to go real quick. Last topic. Sorry, guys, we're only going to be talking for a little over a half an hour. So, last topic. Going over policing, either shooting related, pulling over, whatever. So, I didn't even think about this because I'm a horrible American, not looking up traffic crimes that are committed by different groups of races. But it is very surprising that it was 23% or something like that.
It was a New Jersey study.
Yeah,
so
this
New Jersey
study
was getting sued for
discriminating cops
against
pulling over
black people proportionally compared to other races.
Right.
So 25% of the people that they studied in that study were black people, and they were speeding. 23% of them got tickets.
Right. Exactly.
Out of that 25%.
Right. And so even then, and I don't remember if it was Ben Shapiro, but I know somewhere said, for the most part, you have these people that they're speeding, and they're actually legitimately speeding, going 10, 15 miles over, circling back, not taking personal responsibility. They're going to call bullshit. They're going to say why, because, and I don't know if it's this theme of fuck the authority, or if it's just, hey, I don't want to get a $200 ticket, so I'm going to fight it. So if this cop wasn't super meticulous and wasn't super like going by the book to do everything and record everything, they're going to try and fight it, and they're going to say I was not speeding. And I mean, hell, I'll even do it myself. And I'm not saying I'm a perfect person, because I don't want to spend $200 on a speeding ticket. So I'm going to say I don't think that's wrong. Obviously, I think living in Texas, we have cops all have like speed guns, and they can clock you in whatever other situation, so you can't really fight it that way. But that might not be everywhere in the world, and I think it's really interesting.
I think it goes deeper than that.
What do you mean?
So I think there's the idea that black people are being disproportionately shot or pulled over, and them getting and those people getting upset comes from the idea from their parents. So when you grow up in an environment where parents are saying that the white man is out to get you, it's going to be hard to succeed. It's going to be hard to shake that a mindset away from anybody. And why would you want or expect to succeed in an environment where you think everyone is out to get you?
Right.
The reality is no one gives a shit about you. No one gives a shit enough to want to stop you from living your life. People have their own fucking problems. People have their own shit to deal with. You don't matter to 99.99999% of the country.
I agree.
Get over it.
No, I agree. And I maybe that's because we live kind of in this age where everyone is an entertainer now. Everyone has a social media following. Everyone thinks that the world revolves around themselves. That's a separate conversation. Don't necessarily want to get into it right now. But in all these statistics, you have to be very careful. I'm not going to say one is right, one is the other, because again, I don't have the statistics in front of me. But you have to be very careful. That Ben Shapiro brought this up. That I think is very important. Is if you just flat shave off what am I trying to say? If you just look at the country as a whole, percentages shooting wise, okay, you can't necessarily quote that. Just like you can't say, someone making, $7 an hour in the 60s or whatever is the same as someone making $7.25 now, because inflation and other causes and factors and stuff like that, you can't just state it. It has to be in real dollars. It has to be, you have to account for inflation. You have to account for what other bullshit's going on, where that $7 in the 60s, well, in today's money, maybe that was like $20. I don't know but it's a very high drastic number. So quoting you have to be very, very careful where you're quoting these statistics. And I think that's very important to have this conversation. Moving forward, you need to have clear information. You need to have and it doesn't necessarily have to be unbiased, but you can have biased information where the left is going to say, okay, well, let's look in this sector of information and let's see what we can find. The right's going to say, well, let's look in this other sector, but it's a Venn diagram. There's information that crosses each other, so it doesn't necessarily have to be unbiased information, but you have to look where you look in.
Well, that's the thing that Ben was saying is, and that's something Benjamin Franklin, I remember he touched on when I was reading one of his biographies, was facts are stubborn things. Like, their facts don't have political sides.
Right.
Or maybe that was John Adams. John Adams said facts are stubborn things. They don't have political agendas. The facts are the facts. It's your interpretation of those facts. That's where the facts get lost.
Exactly. And so, you know, and this was kind of a back and forth with me, and watching the video again with you guys, what Ben Shapiro was talking about, it kind of clicked. So, why are that, you know, the African American communities, why do you kind of get this idea when you visit them that they're lower, more, or in higher poverty? They have a higher poverty. There's a lower level of income. Why is that? Well, because that there's more violence. Okay. Well, would someone as a Adam Ruins Everything, this is, you know, I've showed you a few of his clips. You know, he was saying that this was systematically in place by the white flight. Whenever there was a movement into the suburb areas and stuff like that, that was there. But and I was thinking, okay, well, sure, you know, 50 years from now, we're still suffering from that. But what, you know, Ben Shapiro was saying, which made sense, which clicked, is people aren't going to invest in cities and suburban
it's the
areas.
broken window theory. Do you know what the broken window theory is?
I don't know what the broken window
So
theory is.
let's say there's a line, there's a street with 10 buildings on each side. The first building on the right side has a few broken windows. And if that doesn't get fixed, then the next one will have broken windows.
Right.
And the next one will have broken windows. And no one will give a shit about fixing those windows. And it comes to a point where all 10 houses on each side now look like shit because no one bothered to fix the first broken window.
Exactly. And so I can say that it wasn't overnight that this happened. It was definitely
and also the white flight thing.
Oh yeah, sure.
That, while it's true that white people move to the suburbs to get out of the inner cities, one thing that is never addressed is how much, and they blame it on white Republicans. That's the idea of white flight.
Okay.
One thing that's never addressed is how many of those cities are dominated by democratically left minority groups. If what you're blaming it on is white people, white Republicans that have left those cities for years, and yet for years that system has been so fucked up, controlled by these people that are supposedly for these minority groups,
right?
Then why hasn't anything fucking changed?
And I think that, and I can't make a direct correlation to it, but I think it's because, you know, there's no investment.
Don't want to go back there.
Exactly. And I think, and because they're this, it's just this, it's a snowball. It's like I said before with the unemployment thing, it's a snowball effect where there's going to be violence, there's going to be property damage, there's going to be a whole lot of issues coming up that's not being regulated, that you don't have, and
cops aren't allowed in that area now because it's going to be racist, and no cop wants to get on TV and riot.
Right, exactly,
because you're right. It's a spiral effect.
It is a huge problem where, you know, just because you feel uncomfortable around cops, again, what was it? What did we just say? That's your feeling. That is your that. And again, I apologize for sounding a little aggressive here, but it kind of irks me with this kind of circular thinking where you're proving yourself right just because because you observe something in reality. And you're saying you're justifying it, well, you're proving yourself by justifying it, and it's again the circular thought. So, you know, why do you think, you know, North Texas has, you know, the lowest crime rates? Because there's literally a freaking cop everywhere I drive. Literally, when I was growing up in Frisco, I would not go more than 2 days without seeing a cop, and that's just what it is. And so, you know, you have higher policing and you have higher protection, sure. You might have asshole cops. That's just, again, just because you...
Cops are people, too. There's
exactly.
going to be good ones, there's going to be bad ones.
Perfect. Same thing in political sides, same thing in racial groups, same thing everywhere. Religious, whatever. You're going to have assholes, okay? So you have this system where if you're missing the cops and you're missing that, they're not going to be able to police, they're not going to be able to control, and they're not going to be able to protect. Companies aren't going to go there. So, you know, I think Ben Shapiro said Ferguson was the example, is where why is it so messed up?
Or take Detroit.
Well,
sure, Detroit exactly. used to be the biggest booming city in the world. Now it's like has a life expectancy of like -4. Like no one wants
Right.
to fucking go to Detroit.
Exactly, and I can't, and forgive me, and if you know, what was the one where they were doing was it New Hampshire? I don't know. There was some city where there were riots and the people were flipping police cars and they were literally
Baltimore?
like, I think was it Baltimore?
Probably.
I forget, but so Baltimore, there was all these videos about people jumping on police cars and breaking windows and Molotovs and all this crazy insane shit, but. I feel like if we had a higher investment in terms of policing, or even take police out. Okay, you don't like police, that's fine. Well, social programs. Well, what's going on right now? How much money are we spending on?
That's been replaced with the state, with the U.S. government.
Exactly, and so how much we're spending and how much we're investing in these. Take companies, take police. Just how much investing are we doing? How much are we looking at this? Okay, there's a reason why Amazon's new headquarters is going to be in Dallas or Dallas or Plano or whatever. Yeah. There's a reason why. So it's upsetting that we're yelling at the mirror and we're saying this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, but that's all we're doing. We're just yelling. We're not making any progress. And again, tie this politically. Vote for the people who you think are going to represent you. Everything like that. So I just so to kind of light and
But do you think people want to fix the problem?
Or you just think that people want to yell just to yell?
No, so like Dinesh D'Souza, who's another guy that I listened to, looked at inner cities and equated it to a slave plantation.
Okay.
So there are 4 or 5 things that you need that is present on a slave plantation. Mm-hmm. Number 1, you have hold on, keep talking, I'll look it up.
Sure, that's fine. So I wanted to tie it back real quick about the police shooting and stuff like that, and how you look at the race, the white on white, black on black, black on white, white on black, whatever, police on civilian. You look at these numbers and you have to look specifically. Again, look at the facts or look at the statistics. Okay, look at the statistics specifically in the inner cities. Okay, well, what's the majority of the population in the inner cities? Okay, if you go in the outer cities, what's the majority of the population? Well, just because there's more shootings in the inner cities doesn't mean cops hate black people if that's where they live. Well, it's all relative speaking, because Billy Joe in the suburbs isn't going to go on a shooting spree for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm kind of going I don't want to go super in deep because again I don't know. But these are the questions that we have to ask, and these are the questions that we have to bring up, and just we have to look at it subjectively. We have to take this dang filter off that's saying, "Hey, Blake, I see you as a white person." No, Blake, I see you as a human being. So look at it subjectively. Look at these people. Okay, the inner cities and stuff like that. They're going to be more violent because maybe there are more gang activity. Okay, I don't see Bobby Joe in white suburbia flashing up gang signs and trying to rob a liquor store or whatever. You just don't see that because it's a different mentality. It's a different lifestyle.
Sure.
And
it's a different culture. I think culture is the biggest. You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I'm not as well as informed.
Well, you don't think there's a black culture? You don't think there's a black inner city, a white rural, a Asian suburban, a white suburban? You don't think that barbecues and talking to your neighbors isn't part of white suburban culture?
I think that's my issue is I don't want to internalize that, because then I feel, again, I recognize that this is my perception, is I feel that's a little racist to say. And,
okay.
But again, it's hard for me to battle this because
well, no, I think there's
one side
an upper class. Then make it class culture.
I could agree with that a little more.
You could agree with class culture.
I think that's
Well, you understand that there's a difference between a white person in the inner city, what they do, and a poor white person in an inner city, and a poor white person in a rural setting.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so why
I
can't
recognize
you equate that with other races? And
I
that
think
each one are separated by their surroundings, their environment, and their culture.
I'd have to look more into that, because I think a white person in a poor inner city may or may not lead the same tendencies as a black person who lives in an inner city.
That's why I'm separating them.
Well, but I don't think we should separate them.
Oh, okay.
So, do more. I need to do more research, but I definitely agree. Again, the 3 marks that we brought up: the make it through high school, try and go to college, keep a job, don't get pregnant. I think that's definitely a huge determinant. And why is Dallas so cheap? I found apartments there for like $500 a month. Okay, well, there's like, it's gated, it's barred, there's like, crazy dangerous. You look at the police activity, it's crazy. So, if you're a single mom, or if you don't have a job, or you're not making that much money, or whatever it is, you're gonna ignore the crime, and you're gonna ignore that because that's the only place that you can live. I think the only place that was cheap was Denton, but that's just like a college town, so it's you're not gonna have the greatest things there anyways. So, did you find what you're looking for?
Yeah, I did. So. This guy named Kenneth Stamp says, number one on the typical old plantation is you have ramshack dwellings, houses, but they're in disarray.
Okay.
Second, you have a family structure that is all broken down.
Okay.
A lot of illegitimacy, whose kids are whose, you don't really know. That's the nature.
Okay.
Third, a lot of violence that is necessary to hold or to keep the place together because slavery is based on coercion. You have to force people. You have to whip them. You have to beat them and all that stuff. Fourth, everybody has a minimum provision. You get food, you get healthcare, but nobody gets ahead. Nobody rises up.
That Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You can't focus on building yourself as a person until you food, water, shelter. I 100% agree with that.
And nobody gets a good education.
So the
inner city is starting to look a lot like an old slave plantation, except trade out the masters. You have Democratic politicians that are controlling inner cities, and you used to have white rural Democrats in the South.
Sure. No, I agree. I agree with the comparison there. I don't want to. We just passed a little bit over 45 minutes, so I don't want to just wrap this up a little bit. But yeah, I think that there are a lot of holes that people aren't falling into, because if they fall into that, then they're wrong. And it's just, I guess it's just their kids are weak, or they've always been right their whole life. Why do we have now? I think I mentioned this before, but my stepmom and a few other teachers that I know, parents are always yelling at them. Parents are always sending dirty emails.
Did you see did I show you the cartoon where it was schools back in the 50s, and it was the parents yelling at the kid with the teacher sitting under desk, and then
saying like, what did you do wrong, or something?
Yeah, and in 2010, the parents are yelling at the teacher, and the
what did you do wrong? Yeah, exactly. I think, and that's definitely been a contributing factor to the shift of how we're handling the situation instead of being blunt and honest with it. But I don't know. I mean, I think I've kind of shot my steam. So, do you have any other closing thoughts or anything?
There's a culture nowadays, an outrage culture that you see all across, especially our generation. And that's what's silencing anybody who wants to say anything. And we're not heroes by any means for talking about this.
Oh, no.
By any means.
No.
But this is not something you see every day. This is not as common as it was back, I don't know how long, 30, 40 years ago.
Sure.
And I think the most important thing is to keep your mouth shut and listen. I think people do a lot of pseudo listening where they hear. It's like when you fall asleep with the TV on. That's how people listen to other people talk. They're waiting for their turn to talk.
There was a friend of mine made a comment about it, and I think it was a very insightful comment. He was saying the style, and however we got here. I don't think we can pinpoint that right now, but there's this transition where instead of actively listening to you, and instead of everything that you've said about the culture shift and everything like that, and actively listening, processing, and coming out with a response, as soon as I hear a keyword or a hot word saying, ooh, culture shift, ooh, I know what to say, and I block out everything else you say.
We have a script in our heads ready to go.
Exactly. So as soon as you finish talking or you take a breath, I'm going to interject. I mean, I always interject anyways. So, but I feel like, and I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I feel like I've definitely changed, because high school me, totally different. I think now, I've been able to kind of process that, and I'm not saying that I'm better than anyone, but it's something you have to work at. It's something you're not instantly born with, because babies are selfish, and then kids will be selfish, and if the parents don't beat the kid, then the kid's going to keep being selfish. And then, if the kid doesn't teach responsibility, then they're going to grow up to be a selfish adult. So it's just this kind of snowball effect, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So was there anything else you wanted to add?
No. Okay. I'm good.
All right. So yeah, that is it. That kind of just beat down white privilege and really give it a good talking. I cannot emphasize this enough. If you have a different, and that's the problem that I think I'm facing now, is I don't have people telling me no. I have a bunch of yes men saying, yes, I agree. Yes, that Ben Shapiro made a lot of good points. Yes, yes, yes.
Well, you invited me to the wrong
Well,
debate.
the other person that we were going to have, I thought he'd have kind of a
Okay,
more
a different,
polarizing,
okay.
not polarizing, but a different. But and that's okay. That was my fault. Didn't do enough communication. But anyways, if you have any thoughts, ideas, debates, obviously you're going to try and have a debate. But if you have any other conflicting ideas or facts or videos or anything, literally the reason why we're having this podcast is because this one guy on one of my videos posted 4 links, and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool. I want to talk about this." So, if you have anything, please, 3 more times, please respond. Email, text, call, start a Facebook chat saying, "Hey, Yuval sucks. We need to tell him otherwise." Give me the hate, give me the love. I don't care what it is, but let's have that conversation right now. Let's have this discussion. Let's make it known. Let's make it viral. Let's make this a thing. We need to. I think and that's the thing. We need to change the mindset of just I'm gonna attack you, and that's it. I've said what I've had to say, and I feel like that's kind of a general trend. Is like, Blake, you said a bunch of stuff. I'm gonna walk in, boom, bomb. I'm walking out. Like I'm not able to hear this, and I think this is this overall concept overarching theme. But like for years, this isn't a new thing. It's for years is we'll always side with the guy that debunks everything the person says, but we're not giving that other person a chance to respond. Mm-hmm. And even if they can't immediately respond, give them a few days. Let's challenge the idea. We're not here just to blow up your idea or your views or your beliefs. We're here to blow it up, let you rebuild it to something stronger.
Well, then you're definitely going to like Ben Shapiro. Because whenever he speaks on campuses, he says, by the way, if you're on the left, you get to go first for the questionnaire.
Oh, really?
For the questionnaire. You get to go first. Everybody, let them cut. They get to go first.
Wow, okay. All right, that's interesting. But yeah, I'll definitely have to keep listening to Ben Shapiro. But anyways, that is it. Again, I say it one more time, man. You need to respond, comment, text, call, email. I'll have all that information. I'll also link the videos that we were talking about. I'll put that in the description. Other than that, people, like, let's do this. Let's make this a giant tidal storm of like change.
Yes.
Let's do that.
No trolls.
No
trolls.
Oh, trolls, come at me, bro. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, you know what? It's about talking. It's a troll has there, and that's, and I love that you brought this up. A troll has an opinion, just like a lie is based on something. It's based on a belief. It's based on if we can get to the root of it, then hey, if a troll wants to say, hey, you suck, well, let's try and figure out why I suck. Why do you think I suck? Like,
you're like arguing with a drunk 2-year-old at that point.
Okay, if it gets to that point, then sure, I'll have to kind of persuade it. But I don't know, whatever. I need response. I need feedback. Honestly, that's pretty much it. But no, more specifically with this, I would love to hear your opinions and thoughts and stuff like that. I totally went on a 2-minute tangent about I need to hear people's thoughts. Anyways, that is the end. Blake, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And hopefully they didn't hear you pee because that was kind of loud. Anyways, that is the end of the One More Podcast. We made it to 52 minutes, so I guess it wasn't cut short at 30. Oh, well. No. All right. Everyone have a good night or day or whenever you are listening to this. Peace out.
All right, and welcome to the end part of the show. If you stuck around till the end, props to you. I appreciate you. I love you. Now, I get to talk your ear off about Haven Cottage Investments. All right, these people. Okay. Ooh, do I have something to say about these people? They are smart. They are intuitive. They are intelligent. Smart and intelligent, pretty much the same thing, but that is okay, all right? These people know everything there needs to know about investments in property, in renting, in leasing, in leasing, whatever that means. Anything about property for apartments or homes or just your place to stay. They are the financial advisors, okay? Give them a call, give them an email. You know, they're not going to bite. They're just going to talk to you. They're going to ask you some questions, all right? Sabrina Parker, she is a great Texas real estate agent lady person, all right? She is the one to contact, okay? Give her a call. Give her an email, all right? You mentioned the podcast, you get half off your commission rate, okay? That is a great deal, all right? You don't want to let this slip through your fingers, okay? If you're just thinking about moving, if you're just thinking about renting, just give her a call. Give her an email, all right? Learn some information, all right? Learn yourself. Be better. Be a better person. Be more wise. Be better situated for investing, okay? This is your future, and this is important. So why not start off with a great person to talk to / email / whatever communication form you want to email, whatever. I don't know. All right. Yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys have a fantastic night, day, or whenever you're listening.